So it's interesting. You can kind of see him going through these phases of when we first started, he was kind of just like lackadaisically like, yeah, all right, I guess I'll kind of do this, right? We started upping the accountability a little bit, and he started behaving better from the standpoint of, you could tell he was definitely trying to do the right thing, but we saw a little bit of confusion, right? And now we're kind of working through that confusion and just getting him into a little bit more balanced of he's listening, he's not super distracted, right? And being a little bit more respectful of state of mind.
So far so good. He's definitely super high energy, and he always has a really good attitude going into every session and walk and everything. He gets really excited for, which is obviously really good. But yeah, so far so good. You know, I haven't really seen a whole lot of it. We tried to, you know, I'll throw the little tug toy around and stuff. And so we've been kind of just working on like more of kind of like the fetch game, him going, grabbing it and coming back, or just like if he lays down or something, me going up and just having him drop it. And this is something that we will kind of talk about in the send home a little bit more in depth on kind of like, you know, getting things that either he shouldn't have in his mouth, like the remote or clothes or something like that, or your shoes, and then as well as like things that he can have sometimes, like his toys and stuff, but still giving this like general kind of command or idea that, you know, you get the final say in that decision, and it's not his to kind of demand. Nothing is like something that he should demand, whether it's food, whether it's toys, whether it's you. Sometimes people can be the resource that the dog is guarding, and so all of that we kind of been like generalizing. So I haven't seen him, and this is it is like kind of common too, and it's kind of a good thing that if it's something where at least it's not super severe, at least here, that from day one we already let him know that like this isn't going to be an option for you to like fight and resource guard against me, you know, kind of thing. So so luckily I haven't seen anything like too aggressive or anything, and that's and so that's something that too, where it's like, you know, it's very much, you know, trying to teach him that behavior isn't appropriate, nor is it okay or acceptable, but in the other sense, you know, it's something that, you know, it'll partially also be management, like on your end too, you know, like making sure like, okay, if it's dinner time for him, then, you know, I gotta watch who's going in the kitchen or whatever, you know what I mean? But obviously, yeah, like, and that'd be more for like when you first go home kind of thing. But obviously the goal, yes, is to address the actual issue of the resource guarding and making it very clear that that's just, you know, it's not acceptable. This person's not trying to steal your food, so you being like a jerk and growling at them is not what needs to happen, you know. But again, something that we'll go over in the send home as well. We could even kind of like show an example of kind of like how I would recommend like feeding for breakfast and dinner and stuff like that. If you know, even if it's just you walking around the house or something, you're running around and you're not paying attention to him eating. And again, hopefully, you know, the point of it is obviously we're not putting any dogs in danger here and stuff, so it's hard to like test exactly that. But again, the goal with generalizing the idea that it's like, regardless of what or who is around you, you know, that behavior is inappropriate, we will hopefully be able to kind of like, again, generalize that, so going home for the other dog as well. And that's just how we do feeding for dogs at resource guard food and stuff. It does kind of like do that for them. So again, at first, you know, it might be something that for breakfast or dinner, you might have to kind of observe and make sure so that you can keep an eye on him and correct for anything that you may need to. But with consistency of that, after, you know, a week or so of doing that every day, twice a day, or however much you feed him, you know, it will have enough opportunities to give those corrections appropriately and make it very clear at like where these new boundaries are, you know. And you know, it's very common for the dogs to go back to an environment where they didn't have this you know, criteria prior to the training. So they try to fall into these old habits, you know. So that's where that consistency, and that's why that send home is so, like, it's 3 hours long, so that we can have enough time to really go over whatever we need to, and take the time wherever we need to too, you know. So so that'll be, I mean, that'll definitely be something that we will spend a good chunk of time on, is talking about resource guarding, kind of go over feeding schedules, kind of how to do all that stuff, so you have a good idea going into it. You know, it could be multiple different reasons, you know, or like reasons why he's kind of changed and stuff. But with the socialization here, with the training here, you know, it is really about kind of getting him comfortable with those situations, so that, again, you know, hopefully with the amount of socialization and everything that we're doing, we can get him to a point where he has to be like, or seems less on edge around the other dog, you know. So, you know, it takes time, but that's also where those follow-ups come in, help, and you know, in hand too. Being able to, one, do the send home, but then also do these follow-ups however often we need to make sure that, you know, we're on the right track, that he's doing everything he should be doing, that you are doing things consistently, and, you know, and you're getting the help that you need, whether just clarifying what to do or answering new questions or whatever it may be, you know. But luckily, again, for him, he at least has a really good attitude just towards everything that we've been working on. So my hopes are that, you know, once you start working on it and that transition from here to home kind of starts working itself in, that, you know, everything will be much more smooth going home. Multiple dogs in the household, especially when only one is being trained and there's one or however many else in the house, it's really, again, about just working with Teddy and making sure that, you know, because at the point where he's going home, he's going to know everything he should be doing and everything that he shouldn't be doing. So it's more of just keeping him in check. And it does sound like he is more of the instigator anyways, rather than the new dog. So hopefully by just, you know, practicing these commands, working on them, keeping that consistency going, you know, we should be able to work with everything, check those boxes off as we need to. Bed. Yeah. All right, sweet girl. So working with Kylie right now, we're just working a couple bed commands, some duration, some recalls, just kind of covering all of our bases right now. Come. But Kylie came here because she had some kind of fear reactivity with some strangers and everything, some guests coming over. She'd get kind of nervous and everything. So we've been working a lot on, especially her bed command, bed. Making it so that when people do come over to the owner's house, if she is feeling nervous or anxious or whatever, she has a place to go, right? And you can see being on that bed, she's also able to hold that duration as well. For X amount of time, you know, and as those guests come in, as those guests get settled, as they're just hanging out, whatever it may be, she can stay there as long as she needs to calm down and kind of let those emotions kind of, you know, settle a little bit as well. So, come. Working with her has been really fun. She is a really, really sweet dog, but this fear reactivity can be seen a lot of times as this like outward kind of aggression, but really it is kind of just a flight or fight kind of reaction, where especially if someone she doesn't know or doesn't see very often kind of is coming into the house or up to the front door, it's going to be something that if the dog is scared and they feel like they are in that house, they're going to get reactive, right? Come. Good job. Down. Way to go, girl. So the big differences between kind of just fear reactivity and aggression or resource guarding owners or toys or food or something is that the resource guarding is more of a demand of something, right? Or they demand kind of that control over the toy or over the food or over the crate or the owner or whatever it may be. The fear reactivity comes more from the basis of fear, right? Or anxiety or whatever it may be. Again, kind of going back to that fight or flight. So with her, it's not necessarily something that she wants to be mean or wants to nip at these people or growl or snarl or whatever it may be. She's a very, very sweet dog. But it's when she's feeling kind of cornered or stuck in a situation, whether it's on the leash, whether it's in the house, in the crate, whatever it may be, that's where you get that reactivity, right? They are reacting to being kind of stuck. So, so for her, really working these commands is one, giving her an outlet and a position to kind of address those issues and work through them, as well as with the success of that, show that these things aren't as scary as she may think they are, right? Again, whether it's in the house or outside. So working downs for the duration, we are able to kind of work past maybe some really reactive dogs walking by or certain bikes or motorcycles that kind of can scare some dogs sometimes, right? So having them in a position where they can kind of work through those emotions, catch their breath, and then keep moving in a positive direction with that success is obviously very positive and works great. So for her, it's been a really big deal with, again, doing these durations on the bed and in the downs, where working through knocking on the door and randomly just coming in, doing out of sight duration has helped her a lot to kind of build her own confidence and independence in that situation, so that hopefully going home, she's able to work through that stress. Okay? Bed. But she is really a sweet dog. She's been very fun to work with so far. And she's killing it too. Yeah. You're good. What's up?
Are we going to Edgewood?
Yeah, we were just filming this right now, but you can come in. So even working Winnie as a distraction here and Senny coming in and knocking on the door, still, you can see how focused Kylie is on Winnie and how much she probably wants to hop off and go and play with her. But again, the control of the duration and understanding that regardless of what's going on over here, she has to stay over there, right? And hold that duration. And once she kind of calms down and relaxes a little bit, then it is my decision when to release her off, right? That's another good point to make with the anxiety or the fear reactivity, is that it's something by having this kind of control of the commands of starting the duration and ending the duration, I am able to put myself in the control of what's going on, right? Instead of her feeling like she has to kind of defend herself and stick up for herself, that's where you get a lot of that reactivity. But if it is clear to her that all I'm asking is you go and hang on that bed and I will deal with everything else, again, whether it's inside or outside, it's something that it gives that dog a much more sense of kind of like calm and understanding that, okay, again, I don't have to fear as much as I think, Okay, come. Good job. Snap something. This is called a triangle hold. Something like this. Put you in the guard. What you call guard. Jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Miracle Jiu-jitsu. Yes, my good girl. Yes.
Oh, look at this little thing. I was just telling her I was so excited to meet this little one.
Nigel.
Hi,
Come on, buddy,
Nigel.
where are you going? Basil. Come on, let's go play. Come on. Yeah,
So let's use this as a little opportunity to work our come
Yeah.
command. How about that?
Yeah.
Tell him come.
Basil, come. Nigel.
And
Stay.
if he doesn't do it, tell him.
No, come.
And then let's go ahead and increase some more.
Basil, come. Good boy. Nigel, let's go. Come on, buddies. Whew.
Exciting already. I like it.
This is the corgi. These are the cats.
Your house is decorated so nicely.
Oh, thanks. I'm a huge weeb, obviously.
I know. I love it. Hey, dude. So what's Basil been up to?
We've been really lax, I'm not gonna lie. To be honest.
That's all right.
Yeah, we were doing good for like the first week,
Mm-hmm.
and then, what happened? Oh, that cat got injured.
Oh yeah. I think I remember you saying that.
Yes, so, he had to like be in a room by himself
Sure,
and like
yeah.
medication like every so many
Yeah.
hours. So things got a little chaotic.
Yeah.
And then the house became in disarray, and then we had a party coming up.
Sure.
So we spent a lot of time cleaning, and I just like did not.
I understand.
Do shit with him. Not gonna be.
That's okay.
Not gonna lie.
Well, let's talk about this, right? So I think this gets us to an interesting point, which is obviously like there's gonna be times when life happens,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And like we can't work on training all the time, and we're not working our commands and this and that, and that's okay, right? Like I run into situations like that also. So my question for you would be, when things started getting lax, how did you notice his behavior change from the standpoint of like, was there big problems that started coming up, or
Yes.
was it just a little bit of general, like just not listening to commands and
No,
stuff, or what'd you run into?
He started. I think he started noticing that we're not paying attention to him.
Sure.
And he was like, "Oh, wait, no, that's like what we do, right?"
Yeah.
So he started acting out. He stole food from the counter.
Yeah.
He went into the recycling bin.
Sure.
He thinks it's trash. He ate a whole bag of bagels. Like, we were like solid, and then he started doing those behaviors
So-
again, where he's like, "Hey,"
Yeah.
and what he would do is he would grab it and run,
Yeah.
and show us,
Yes.
like, "Hey, I have something bad."
So the problems were more like he just started getting really mischievous.
Yeah,
Is that
see,
kind of what it is?
Yeah, and then he wouldn't listen to us.
Yeah.
So the come command just stops working.
Yep.
Just,
Well, here's the thing, right? So one of the biggest like kind of things that I tell everybody is don't worry about your commands and stuff so much, right? Like when you're in these types of situations where it's like, you know, like you're preoccupied with something for a while, we don't have the time to designate to like doing commands all the time and working our bed stays and our down stays and this and that. We just have to make sure we're in a position to provide firm accountability for just general mischievous, unwanted behavioral issues, right? So, you know, just making sure the collar's on him and making sure we're in a position where if he does come out of the corner and we see he's got whatever, a box or a sock or whatever it is he's not supposed to have, that we could correct really firmly for it right then and there, as opposed to like what I find a lot of people do, which is they'll just like, "Oh, Basil, you're not supposed to have that," and they go and try and take it from him, and like, you know, it turns into kind of this game, because like he's probably looking for attention, you know, like he's like, you guys are distracted by the cat, right? You're no longer paying attention to me and doing training, doing all the fun things that I'm used to doing, so let me do something to try to get a rise out of you. And the problem is, it sounds like it's worked, right? Like it has just kind of gotten a rise out of you, as opposed to it's gotten a punishment for him.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So no big deal. And have you kind of started getting back in the swing with things, or?
no.
No? Okay, that's all right. That's all right. And I guess my question then would be, what in particular do we want to put our attention on today then, right?
Him.
Okay.
And his reactions to him is probably, I don't know if he'll behave that way.
Sure.
But if he's acting out because he's not trained well,
Yeah.
he just follows him instead of listening to us.
Okay.
And then obviously getting him back into commands, he did come. It took some time
Sure.
outside, but
Yeah.
that was great.
Yep. Okay. Well,
Otherwise, just like because he's in his domain.
Yeah, no, I understand.
This is where he's like, I don't know, this is my place.
Let's see if we could get, because yeah, he was a little slow with the recall and stuff, right? Let's see if we could get him responding like as quick here as he was at the facility. And we'll start with just like one easy thing to work on. We'll start with his bed stay, since I see you have the bed over there. Yep. So why don't you just walk over there and just put him under the bed, and let's see what we get.
Yes. Come. Bed.
That actually looks pretty good. And then let's just have him hold that for a minute. Why don't you come on over here? We're gonna kind of get just a little bit out of sight. The missing link really is just like when things are getting crazy. It's such a funny time.
Nigel, not no.
Hilarious. Tell him no.
No.
Give your tap. And then take him back to the bed.
Fine.
You are a wild one, little man.
Nige.
Let me see the remote real quick from you. But yeah, what I was getting ready to say before you broke that right there is really what the key for you is going to be is just making sure when you're not in a position to work all your commands all the time, just still making sure you're putting the collar on every day, making sure it's set pretty high, and being in a position to correct for just the general nuisance behaviors.
Okay.
That way he realizes, like, regardless of if we're actively asking you to do something, there's still a degree of accountability, right? Yeah. Because if you look at it, like with obedience commands, we're not looking to have it ridiculously high. It just needs to be high enough where we send the message that that was wrong and we gotta fix your behavior, right? Yeah. When it's a behavioral issue, like let's say it's picking up something he's not supposed to have or tearing apart a cardboard box or something like that, we're looking to create a true inhibition of like, well, that thing definitely didn't work, right? So we want the level of motivation to be significantly higher for that. Cool, so he's doing good now, so why don't you go ahead and release him and then just take him somewhere and put him into a downstay.
Basil, okay. Basil, come. Basil, down.
Perfect. And same deal, you could just leave him there.
No.
Now, right there, did you give a tap on your e-collar when you said no?
Yeah.
Perfect. Why don't you go ahead and increase even more on your level? This is where we really want to make sure that we're seeing a response out of him, right? So when you tap that button, you couldn't really tell that much that he was feeling it, you know? So that would be a sign to start bringing the level back up. Cool, why don't you go ahead and release him?
Okay. Basil, okay. Slippery.
Yeah. Okay. Then go ahead and put him back on the bed.
Basil.
I see who probably keeps him in check is these cats.
Oh yeah. He learned pretty quick what he can't do.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. Seeing how he was going to do with that, because I know you said when he starts getting spunky, it gets a little distracting. That's pretty good. All right, let's do one more downstay in the kitchen.
Basil, okay. Basil, no.
And make sure after your correction that you reiterate the command, so tell him come again.
Basil, come.
Give him a second. Perfect. That was much better. And notice that time too, when you were telling him no and giving your correction, he seemed much more responsive to it, right? So for at least this situation we're in right now, whatever level you're at seems pretty good. Now that, again, that will change. Like you might find tomorrow is lower than that and you get the same response, or you might find it needs to be higher, but That's kind of how I assess what level I need to be at, is by when I use it, do I get that type of response out of him?
No.
Go ahead and put him back again. This is just gonna be a persistence thing.
Come.
A lot of this doesn't so much have to do with, you know, him trying to blow you off, as much as you could tell he's almost anticipating a recall. So we'll just keep putting him back there.
No.
So this one, why don't you go ahead and put him back,
Okay.
but then just hang out next to him for a minute.
Okay.
We'll just try to break some of that pattern of him breaking it. Yeah, just kind of hang out in the kitchen for a minute.
Every time he's done this, he like lays on my legs.
Yeah. So in a minute here, what I'm going to have you do is don't walk this way, just kind of walk through there or something and kind of just go out of sight. All right, and then in a second, you can walk over by me again. But when you walk over here, don't look at him or anything.
Should I walk through this area or over here?
You can walk from over there, yeah, that's fine.
I almost wonder if part of it is the doors right here.
I think a part of it has to do with, you could tell he was trying to kind of retreat to that spot, and I know you've mentioned to me in the past, that's like his spot, you know?
It's also like, oh, fun stuff
Sure,
happens over
yeah.
there.
But I think a part of it also was just like, you could tell every time you walked over here and like stopped, it's like he was guessing you were gonna say come, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I just, if you ever run into a situation like that, kind of break the pattern a little bit,
Okay.
you know, like we just did right there.
Yeah.
We'll give him one more minute there.
He's absolutely like a creature of habit, so
Sure.
the patterns are really strong. Okay.
Oh yeah. Cool, go ahead and just release him.
Basil, okay.
All right, we'll let him hang out for a second. Good job, buddy. Now, do you generally let him like off leash in the yard and stuff?
Not in the front.
Not in the front.
just
Okay, gotcha. So just because he did kind of, you know, get out there when we came in and was like having a hard time coming back in and stuff, we're actually going to work on that next year with him.
Okay.
Because I want to make sure if he does go out there,
Yeah.
that he's going to
Yeah,
come back
there's-
very quickly if
There's
need
been
be.
a couple occasions where, because as soon as we open this door, they want to bolt.
Yeah, sure.
And he just goes.
Yeah.
This one at least stays in the yard.
Yeah.
But like we've had neighbors bring him back. They're like, it's Basil again.
Yep. So let's do this. Let me take the remote from you. And what we're going to do, pop my shoes on real quick here, and we're actually just going to go out the front door here and see what we get. And you can leave him inside. We'll just focus on Basil.
Yes. I am terrified right now. This is amazing.
He'll be all right.
I'm surprised he hasn't left already.
Yeah. All right, why don't you do another come command?
Basil, come.
Give him a second. If he doesn't do it, you'll tell him no.
No. Basil, come.
Perfect. Now, like I was saying, you know, you obviously don't need to do this all the time, but we do need to check the box that if we're ever in this position where it's like, God, we can't open that front door because if he gets out, like he's not coming back, we have to make sure we have control over that situation for safety purposes, right? If we could feel confident that if I needed to, I could bring him out here and he's going to behave himself and not take off. And if he goes by the car, he'll come back and stuff.
That's like one of our fears, because what if there's like a fire?
Of course.
And, like,
Yeah.
We need to let the dogs out. I don't want them to run off.
Yeah, definitely. So we got to make sure we're practicing that then at that point. So, cool. You can just tell him okay and release him.
Basil, okay.
Basil, come here. Tell him no,
Basil, no.
and then tell him come again.
Basil, come.
Perfect. And that's kind of what I mean, right? When he gets into that state of mind, we got to make sure he's going to come back. Feeling clean, dude. Did you go to the groomer recently?
Yes.
Feeling real clean. Okay.
Basil, come. No. Come.
Perfect.
Good boy. Good boy, baby.
Hi.
Hey, snowball. What are you doing?
Okay.
Basil, come here, buddy. He's like, let me go over there. Basil, come here, bud.
I feel like his hearing isn't good sometimes.
Selective hearing, we call that. So we'll let this guy pull out, then we'll practice another one. All right, whenever you want.
Basil, come.
Nice.
Good boy.
And that's the speed we're looking for.
Good boy.
Okay.
So it's interesting, you can kind of see him going through these phases of when we first started, he was kind of just like lackadaisically like, yeah, all right, I guess I'll kind of do this, right? We started upping the accountability a little bit, and he started behaving better from the standpoint of, you could tell he was definitely trying to do the right thing, but we saw a little bit of confusion, right? And now we're kind of working through that confusion and just getting him into a little bit more balanced of a even, he's listening, he's not super distracted, right? And being a little bit more respectful of state of mind. So looks pretty good so far. So we were just kind of talking about while you were working, we were talking about just the idea that, you know, when you run into situations like you have over the last couple of weeks where just like life kind of gets in the way a little bit, can't do so much training and stuff, it's totally fine. That happens, right? I run into situations like that with my dogs a lot. But try to make sure, even if you're not going to practice your commands and stuff, the collar still goes on and you're still in a position to correct for the unwanted behaviors, right? So she was saying he was doing a lot of like getting into things and just general mischievousness, right? Or if you catch that stuff and correct it like really firmly, even if you're not working commands, he'll still stay in like a good, respectful state of mind in the house. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing for you guys right now.
Have his collar on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, well, we're not training him right
That's
now.
all right. Yeah, and a lot of times we kind of associate the collar with the training from the standpoint of like the obedience commands and stuff. When in actuality, the obedience commands is just such a small percentage of your day. The training is really teaching him what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in the house, just in general. And you know, the way we get to a place where like the dog just like listens regardless if the collar's on or not on is by making sure the majority of the time it's on, right? If we create this pattern that 99.9% of the time, if we ask you to do something, or if you do something unwanted, there's some sort of consequence for it, then in the situations when we don't have it on and we do need to ask him to do something, it's just patterned in that he needs to listen.
I think with like what just happened now and
Sure.
everything, I think a lot of like, it's tough when he's trying to figure it out and you can tell.
Yes.
I think he gets like almost like overwhelmed.
Yes.
It seems like.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong at all. And we always want to make sure, like, if we notice that he's making a conscious effort to do it, that we give him the time to work through that.
Yeah. 'Cause I don't want to like make it worse. That's what it feels like. Like he's
Sure.
almost like concerned. Like, I gotta figure this out. And he doesn't know
Yeah,
what he's doing, so.
it's how do I make sure that I don't get a correction for this,
Yeah.
right? Is definitely some of it. So two things. One, yeah, like giving him the opportunity to work through it, because we don't want to accidentally correct him while he's still figuring it out, because that'll kind of inhibit some of the thinking through it process, you know? And two, as he becomes more confident in like, oh, I just do this and don't get a correction for it, you'll see most of that go away. And he'll get more and more kind of confident in the decision. No different than outside when we were just working those recalls. The first handful of them that you did, we needed to correct him. And he was kind of like, went to Paige, then went to me, then kind of started wandering around. And then those last handful of them, it was like, as soon as you said it, he knew exactly where he needed to go because we allowed him to work through it, right? So yeah, that's normal for sure. What are you doing, dude?
I don't know. He wants to
Are you trying to get on the cat tower?
The cat, yeah. He needs to get to you, but the cat's in the way.
Oh my gosh.
Do something. Don't fall on the cat, that would be disastrous.
Or don't fall on the shelf. Yeah, like,
Honestly, the shelf's less disastrous than the
yeah.
cat.
How are you gonna solve this, Nigel?
Yeah, right.
He's got solutions.
That was
There we go.
that was pretty smooth.
You doing good?
I think he's looking pretty good. I think he needs to get a little bit back in the swing, and I think the accountability in the house needs to be much higher for him.
Okay.
You know, he's got to take you a little more seriously in the house. to make sure that you get past some of this kind of stuff, you know? And past that, like I said, don't worry about working commands and stuff all the time. Just make sure you have the collar on him and just have it set pretty high, and just be in a position to correct him if he's acting out with stuff. And I think if you do those things, I don't think you should run into any sort of big issues.
Making sure nobody kills anybody.
Okay.
That's the vlog. There you go. There you go.
Is everyone in?
All right, Mom, I'm ready.
Sunny's sitting over there. Sunny.
Hey guys, it's Bridget with Miracle Canine Training, and I'm here with my champion beagle. Her name is Sunday, and today we're going to go over how to perfect your dog's walk. And one of the first steps we're going to talk about here is just the threshold boundary. So obviously, as we're starting our walk, I always recommend that right when you go out the door, right when you open the car door, that the dog is waiting and not starting the walk with rushing out the door and pulling you down the street. So working on the thresholds, having the dog respect it until they hear, okay, that we would like them to stay in place and not pull us. So as we begin our walk here, Sunday's a little bit advanced. She's been doing this a long time. She knows the game. I want to keep things really simple, and my boundary would be her butt passing me. So as she's in the come command, she's expected to stay in my bubble, and we keep our criteria super simple, so I don't have to micromanage her on the walk, and I don't feel like I'm constantly building frustration. I think most pet owners don't really care if their dogs are in a perfect tight heel. They more so care about their dogs not pulling them. So you can see we have a very loose leash. She's able to know the boundary. At this point, I don't give a crap if she's sniffing the ground as long as she stays within my heel. So a lot of people, I feel, get tripped up when they're teaching their dogs the walk, because a lot of people, you want your dog to feel like they're enjoying the walk, and a lot of people equate enjoying the walk to sniffing and being really hyper excited on the walk. But I actually think starting to teach a little structure and having your dog actively stay with you is a great way to focus and engage with your dog, while we can leave the house, go a couple blocks, and then give that sniff time, so we're getting the best of both worlds without inhibiting the dog's natural behaviors of what they want to do, but we're not allowing them to lead the walk and pull wherever they want to, which leads to a much more enjoyable walk for both the human and the dog. So here, Sunday's off-leash trained. We've been working with her for a while. So I'm gonna remove the leash and give her that free time. Okay? And a typical walk for us looks like she's allowed to go wherever she wants, as long as she's in my eyesight, and she can go smell. If I'm passing a person or a dog, I'll recall her back into that heel position and have her walk a little bit closer to me. But I find a lot of enjoyment just kind of letting her be a dog and work off some of her natural beagle behaviors. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people equate a dog sniffing in free time to be a very, very important part of the walk. And I think we can have the best of both worlds by still setting that rules and those boundaries with our dogs for politeness on the walk. And I almost want to call it a respectful walk. My dog does not have to be perfect or show dog quality. She doesn't have to be staring at me as we're walking. She just has a couple expectations. And then she can have this free time, and because we put in that work to get her to the point where she's able to focus on me and I can trust her off leash, she can have such a better life just being around. So when we are in an off leash area or we're at a park, I always want to make sure my recall is really strong before we head into a situation like that. But we can't get mad at other people because their dogs are off leash. And when you're entering an area like this, there's always a risk that dogs are going to greet each other. So if your dog isn't very friendly or you're still working through something, I don't recommend doing a lot of this in a high density area. But starting to have them off leash in like the field that you go to or on a trail where it's a little bit more secluded is a great option as you're getting more comfortable with working with your dog. Sunday here is smelling an ant, so she doesn't pay the dogs any mind. I want to tell you guys a special message. This right here, just being able to have the dog be a dog is one of the most rewarding chef's kiss things that I hope to be able to teach to my client. And it doesn't always have to look like structure and rules. And initially, as we're teaching, yes, we're getting a little hard on their dogs, we're setting boundaries, but to be able to have this freedom and this movement is so satisfying to me, and it exhausts her. She fucking loves it. We're just vibing. So as our sniff time comes to an end, whether that is on leash, on long line, or off leash, I'm gonna recall Sunday to me, and we're gonna walk to my car and reinstate our come command. Sunday, come. Come here. Sit. Good. Let's put the leash on. I'm gonna say, come. And now I've kind of reinstated that I no longer want her dipping off into the grass and smelling. And I want to be sure to really set clear boundaries here so we can continue to have a really nice life together and she can have her free time while I'm not stressed or worried about her pulling or reacting to another dog. So I hope this helps you guys on your walks with your dogs. Such a contrast from our first social, like where he sat in a corner and he was very, very uncomfortable with the other dogs.
And that's like, again, even when he's sitting outside away from other dogs, it's gone from aggression to fear.
Yeah.
Which is like, obviously we hate that he's scared when he sees dogs, but it's easier, like, then you don't have to, I don't have to try and calm him down.
Yeah.
From the place of, like, I don't know, fear is more fun. Aggression's hard to break.
Yeah. I think he was always aggressive out of fear.
Yeah.
Where he was just like very standoffish with other dogs because he wasn't quite comfortable.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's improved quite a bit. And how we'll move forward with just getting him a little bit more comfortable is more exposure.
Yeah.
And still getting him out, like you've been taking him to patios and things.
Oh, yeah.
And having him feel like the more he does it and the more it's not scary and nothing happens, he's like, oh. And then positive experiences with other dogs.
Well, it's nice too because it feels like he also feels safe enough that like he doesn't have to show aggression, which is
Yeah.
like he feels safe enough with us at least.
Sure.
That it, like,
That shows a lot of his trust in you that we're going to take care of things and he doesn't have to worry about
I'm
them.
not petting you.
He said, but you could be petting me.
He definitely seems more comfortable though, which is
Yeah.
Yeah, like again, he's not the outgoing one. He's not gonna go instigate play, but
yeah.
It's okay.
he doesn't need to.
Just like, I'm very impressed. Like he is carrying his head higher, his tail was going, he was interacting and smelling. So for me, that's so successful.
And he lets other dogs smell him, and
Yeah.
like, it's not just he can do it; he like allows them to do it too, which is nice.
He said, I kind of like this now, guys. So you leave tomorrow for,
Indiana, okay.
Yeah.
We've really been going back a lot this summer.
well, it seems like it's a fun time, so.
Yeah, and again, it's been very nice that we've been able to bring him, so it's been just
Yeah.
trips.
That makes it so much easier that we're able to bring him down.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about boarding him at all.
Right.
Because now he can be around the family's dog. I knew that was like a worry for you
I
at some
know.
point.
The first time we went down, because it was that week we tried to introduce him to our friend's dog, and it went horribly. The
Yeah,
whole time we were driving down, both of us were just like so nervous.
yeah,
And he was great. Like he loves them.
We feel so bad because I think it was our fault for how we.
It was how we did.
yeah.
It's alright.
Well, I loved how you guys like never gave up, and if you had a negative experience, you didn't let it ruin your outlook on him, and you kept trying.
Yeah, well, we know he's a sweet dog. It's just making sure that he's put in the right position to be a sweet dog.
Sweet dog.
You just can't surprise him.
Yeah, it's the surprise.
Yeah.
But like it's nice he's hit the point with like your family at least that we can just like let him into the house and he's
Yeah.
like, fine, and we
Yeah.
don't have to do like a. We've gone back now probably 5 times with him. We really have been going back a lot this summer.
Yeah,
Jeez. But we've gone back so many times that he like recognizes the smell,
Sure.
recognizes the house, and he gets so excited. Like so
Yeah.
it's been nice that we haven't had to. We can just like let him be.
yeah. Boundary setting there, because he's like, don't get on my back. So it's a very good example of like boundary setting in a healthy way. Like he didn't do that overkill. He was like, do not mount me, get off of me. And as you could see, Toaster was like, oh, okay, pushed too many buttons there. And I want him to be able to do that without like us correcting him or thinking that it's wrong because it wasn't.
Well, I think it's good too because like the first couple times that we did socials, he wouldn't even boundary set at all.
Yeah.
He just would lay there and not really do anything. But it's good that he has enough confidence to
Yeah.
do that now.
I think so often, like when people are socializing, that kind of stuff makes them so nervous, and then they tend to correct or scream at the dog that set the boundary. And if we see that he is like getting more confident with being like, okay, I can handle this, then he's more open to the social in general.
Where's the? Yeah, he was just so happy on the beach.
That makes me so happy to see.
It was also nice, so like he like didn't leave our side. diving
Yeah.
the whole time. Like, we didn't have to worry about him running off. He saw there were a bunch of other people with dogs.
Yeah.
Didn't run away to dog. Like, wasn't like.
That's incredible.
The nice thing about him being so people interested is like if there's we were with like a group of friends.
Yeah.
He wasn't running away.
Yeah.
We were all giving him affection. And,
He's like, there's so much here that I love.
yeah, I don't need to go to what I don't love.
Like how beautiful it is to give him that freedom to like run in the water and splash in the waves.
Oh, I like tear up every time we do something with him and it goes well because it's just like again the first like month we had him. Like, we were never going to be able to take him anywhere.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to leave. We're not going to get him a good life. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we always just think about when we first got him, and then even when we first started coming to training, and he's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was learning curve for us and
Yeah.
for him. And yeah, it's been such a huge help.
It's definitely sad to think like when you get your dog and then you start to see things come out, you're like, what did I get myself into? Is this fixable? And then you Google it and there's so many answers in both directions. You're like, what do I do? Well, I'm really happy with it today. I think the social looked completely different. A lot more open, a lot more confidence. He said, "Oh, guys, I did so good." Hey guys, it's Bridget with Miracle Canine Training, and this week we are going to start shouting out a client of the week or client spotlight to bring attention to some of our incredible clients that are really out there and have made massive improvements with their lifestyles with their dog. So this week I wanted to individualize my most recent graduate, Mr. Gordon. And Gordon came to me as a rescue. He was unsure of what his past was, but he was very shut down, very fearful of things, a very timid dog, which you could see in his entire demeanor. But he was also very highly reactive, where his owners felt that he couldn't go out or they couldn't enjoy their life because of his really severe reactivity. Over the course of our sessions together, I saw Gordon change and grow and develop into this confident dog. And with each session, he grew, and he would not have been able to do that without his loving and caring parents, Alex and Anna. And it was just such an incredible journey to see this dog come out of his shell. And a dog that they once thought they could never leave the house with is now swimming in the lake at Edgewater, jumping in the waves, and he's able to fully be around other dogs and pass other dogs. The reactivity is gone. And it's been just a beautiful process with him. We just had him in a social today, and his behavior was 10 times better than it was when we first started. So accepting the other dogs around him, sniffing, and he was actually enjoying himself. So a lot of these changes that we're implementing in dogs' lives cannot go anywhere unless the owners are being a part of it at home. And Alex and Anna did all of their homework. They got this dog out. They didn't let the small setbacks get to them, and they never gave up. They persevered through it all. And now on the other end of the spectrum, we have a much happier dog and much happier owners. So shout out to Alex and Anna with Gordon, and we hope you enjoyed this, and check back to see if you're the next client.